Okay. I can't get my camera to work right now, so sorry guys, but you don't get to see this beautiful face tonight. Um, I am doing this from Jacob's place, so Jacob's out walking the dogs right now, so maybe he can hop on under his account so we can see each other's faces. But sorry, I apologize. I'm having some issues with the camera, but I'm here as you can hear me. Can you confirm that you can hear me? Right? Everything's good?
We can hear you.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. Um, Perfect, perfect. I see all your beautiful faces. And Leah's beautiful baby's face. Oh my God, he's gotten so big.
She
Uh,
hugs a lot. She doesn't smile a whole lot. She's kind of like frowny face. Not
ah,
sure. Scoping it out.
just a just a natural uh, RBF.
Skeptic. Yes.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, I can't show you the bottle, but there should only be one left because we're this is a final tasting of Beauj 2025. So we're tasting 2023 Laurence et Remi Dufaitre Cote de Brouilly is what we're tasting today. Um, Should look familiar. I mean, we featured Laurence and Dufaitre a few times on the Wine Club, as well as in the Beauj box. Is one of my all around year after year one of my favorite producers out of Beaujolais. So yeah, pretty excited to wrap it all up, and particularly of this vintage 2023. I thought the Cote de Brouilly, their Cote de Brouilly was particularly striking. So yeah, glad to be wrapping it all up with this one. Anyways, let's start with the map. That's what we always do. Here you go. That should look pretty familiar by this point. Right? We have been in Beaujolais, which is right here. This is kind of a light pink area on the southern tip of Burgundy, pretty central part of France. As you can imagine, it being very inland, it is a very kind of a the climate is very continental. It's very marginalized, meaning it gets very warm in the summertime and it gets very cold in the wintertime. But what also drives this area interesting is that Burgundy, known for their Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, they are grown on limestone soil, and then as you get into Beaujolais, this is where the granite comes in, and then turns out Gamay does really well in Beaujolais. So that's why we've been spending last 12 weeks studying how Gamay does in this area. This should also look pretty familiar by now. We've been going through all the way from Santamor, which is the very first crew that we did. And then now we're finally on the 10th crew, which is Cote de Brouilly, which is this kind of I don't even know what to call it, this blue, very true blue, bright blue color. It's an appellation within an appellation. I talked about this last week, but to me, this last 2 weeks of Beauj Box, outside of the right next to Moulin Avant and Fleury, which is up here, right? We talked about being Moulin Avant being the king of Beaujolais, and then Fleury being the kind of a queen of Beaujolais, kind of very masculine versus feminine kind of expression of Gamay that comes from here. Outside of those two, I think these two are kind of the most exciting and most striking kind of a section of Beauj Box because we really get to see what happens to the wine when the elevation changes and when the soil type changes. Because Brouilly being this kind of a larger, this orange area, and Cote de Brouilly being kind of a mountain. Mont Brouilly, which is a Brouilly mountain, kind of shoots up in the middle of it, and it's an inactive volcano essentially. So you start to see a lot of volcanic soil that pops up right here in Cote de Brouilly. But it is the exact same area that the brewery is from, but because the elevation, the soil type change, the expression of the game completely changes. So it's kind of fun to explore it that way. Uh, you should you've seen this soil map quite a bit throughout this Beauj box, or I surely hope so. So where we are is all the way down here. So as you can see, this kind of a red part is what we're talking about in terms of granite. As you can see, it's kind of everywhere, right? All through Beaujolais. And this granite is essentially what makes Gamay, gives it this kind of classic expression. But as you can see, there are these pockets of green that comes through, right? Cote de Brouilly is one of them. Like if you see Brouilly as a whole, obviously there's a huge stark difference between east half of Brouilly and the western half of Brouilly, and we talked about that last week, right? All the Gamay kind of lands on the west, and all the kind of clay alluvial soil lands on the east. But within Cote de Brouilly, as you can see, you really see a lot is green, which is a volcanic soil. You do see some granite as you get lower in the elevation, but as you get higher up in the elevation, really, particularly the eastern part, you see a lot of volcanic expression. And as we know from the past, where else do we see these kind of pockets of green soil, which is right here. This is Cote de P within Morgon. We had a bottling from Cote de P this year, right? No, we didn't. It was a Le Douai is what we had. But yeah, so there's a pockets of Cote de P, which is that green pockets within Morgon, which is a volcanic pocket. And then another crew that shows a lot of that green is up on Julienaz, as you can see. So if you remember, and I know this is a while back now, all Julienaz as well as a lot of Morgon, particularly one that is grown Cote de P, as well as Cote de Brouilly, they all tend to have a lot more kind of a blacker fruit expression, as well as more structure, more tannin, higher acid profile, just less fruit. That's particularly what you see when you grow Gamay on volcanic soil. So when you're talking about Brouilly versus Cote de Brouilly, so Brouilly being this kind of like a really best consumed young, youthful, approachable kind of a gulu style Beaujolais, and Cote de Brouilly being more of this kind of structure, perhaps a little age worthy, much more of quote unquote serious kind of a Beaujolais that you get because that soil type changes quite a bit. Oh, here, yeah. So here's the kind of a closer look at Cote de P, how it breaks down. By the way, if you ever go there, this mountain doesn't look all that high, but it actually shoots up kind of in the middle of nowhere. So the slopes are quite high. So these kind of roads that you have to take to get to the top of it, it's quite slow, quite steep. It's pretty fun. I think last year's Tour de France actually went through Cote de Brouilly, which is also a fun fact. But yeah, this is kind of what it looks like, and you all have access to this as well. But the high elevation, it gets up to 1,600 feet. Again, in the grand spectrum of all the wine world and wine producing regions in the world, it's not that high, but within Beaujolais, that's actually pretty decent. And 1,600 feet is not nothing. And then combine that with the volcanic soil, that's what gives this crew a particularly its kind of own sense of a place. Again, that's in general. There are places and people make wines very differently. Like this example for here, there's hallmarks of Cote de Brouilly that shows through in this wine, and we'll talk about that when we get to tasting it. But just the style of the wine that Laurence and Remi make, Dufaitre makes, is a much more brighter, kind of a youthful, approachable style of wine. So this is perhaps not the most like the benchmark expression of Cote de Brouilly, but again, in general, it just tends to be a lot darker, a lot more tannic, and a lot more structured. Let's talk about who makes this wine. So this is actually, I'm sure this picture first. So this is Laurence on the left, this lady, and then Remi right here. So they were the husband and wife couple that started it all. But as of last year, Laurence and Remi actually got divorced. So it's no longer Laurence and Remi Dufaitre. It is Remi who makes all the wines. I think they kept the name because, I don't know, maybe because they built their brand that way. Maybe Laurence has some sort of a legal rights to the company. I'm not sure, but nonetheless, they didn't change the name, but know that all the operations are now all done with Remi. And there's a shot of Remi. This is kind of what their cellar looks like. It's like a very traditional concrete tanks that happen on the right. and then the barrels that come through on the left, and then this is kind of the vineyards that they have on the left. Remi started out. They started buying vines and vineyards around Brouilly and Cote de Brouilly. So their actual winery is in Brouilly. And then they started that in 2006 and began to convert vineyards to organic farming. The vineyards that they purchased were not organically farmed vineyards. And then they began to sell. So he started out selling just the fruit. So he didn't make a wine at all at first because he was waiting for the indigenous yeast population in his vineyard to get healthy and plentiful enough for him to start bottling and making his own wine. And in 2010, he finally made and bottled his first vintage, which immediately kind of caught the attention of the neighboring producers. And one of them was none other than Jean Foyard, which is one of the Gang of Four that we have been talking about all through Beauj Box. In fact, Jean Foyard was so impressed with Remi that he actually took him under his wings, kind of gave him a lot of technical advice, knowledge, but as well as he started introducing him to all of his kind of clients in natural wine clients in Paris. So that's how kind of he entered the wine scene, the natural wine scene in France. And Remi kind of has this cult status among the Parisian natural wine scene. And I personally witnessed it myself, particularly last time I was in Paris. I was in this like an OG natural wine bar called La Vervolle. It means green mole in English. But if you ever get a chance, you should go check it out. It's like a super cool natural wine bar, very OG, very old school. But I shit you not, that night I was there and I saw almost every other table drinking Remi Dufaitre's wines. And I thought it was because it was like a Dufaitre special night or whatnot, but no, it was just like people just came in there just pounding his wines because that's what they like. So a lot of cult following in Paris. His winemaking is pretty much the same. It doesn't really change depending on. So he makes wines in Brouilly, Cote de Brouilly, Beaujolais Village, Julianas. There's one more. Oh, he makes a Beaujolais Blanc as well. So that's a little different. But all the reds are pretty much the exact same winemaking. So if you ever wanted to experience and explore Beaujolais through one producer, he would be a good producer to do that through, kind of taste the difference between different crus because he pretty much makes all of them the same way. His élevage, which is just a French word for post-fermentation treatment, so like oak treatment, MLF and all those things, is a little bit different depending on the vintage as well as the cru. But in general, how he makes his wine is pretty much the same across the board, which is always fun. So how does he make his wine? So this particular wine is all 80-year-old Gamay, 100% Gamay. So old vine Gamay, all organically, chemical-free farming. And then he deploys full carbonic. He's a full carbonic producer. So all of his wines are going to have this really bright, poppy kind of fruit, that high-tone fruit that we've been talking about. No temperature control, and he ferments all of them in cement tanks, which is what you see right here in this picture, right next to Laurence. So the cement tank is exactly where he ferments it. And then he avoids breaking of the berries. He doesn't believe in crushing of the fruit, so he avoids foot stomping or any kind of crushing, unless he starts seeing a volatile acidity start to creep in. And at that point, then he would crush the grapes and then let it go to a bacterial fermentation, as opposed to carbonic maceration and fermentation, which is the intracellular enzymatic fermentation, where the fermentation starts from within the berries and it grows out. But why he does that is that this is basically why most people who make red wines don't need to put a lot of sulfites on there, is because what you're trying to do is when you break the berries and let the must or the grape juice soak in the skins of the grapes and the stems, because it's just a whole cluster, you are extracting a lot of polyphenols, including tannin, which are essentially antioxidants, which protects the wine from oxidizing, protects it from all this volatile acidity that comes in. So I know that's a very kind of geeky kind of information to have, but you guys all nerds at this point if you've been joining Beauj Box for all these years. But yeah, so anytime you see kind of volatile acidity, these kind of instability start to creep in the wine, that's when you want to extract all the tannins and phenolics just kind of protect the wine. And that's why when we talk about wines that age for a long time, that are designed to age for a long time, we talk about acid and tannin, right? And those two are both antioxidants. They're exactly the things that preserve the wine from oxygen. And then that oxygen exposure is exactly what gives growth to volatile acidity and a bunch of other things that sometimes we don't want in the wine. So anyway, so he avoids foot stomping. The whole point of it is to have as little of the juice as possible in the tank to make it go as much as carbonic as possible. And then the wines are aged further in the fougere for this one for 6 months. So it's a large neutral cask, which is what you see. No, these are barrels, but he has a much bigger kind of a fougere. So yeah, they're aged in there for 6 months for this wine, but he normally ages the wines in cement tanks. So there's no oak on his wines whatsoever. Usually everything is done fermented and aged in cement tank. Very classic of Beaujolais. And then it's bottled, unfiltered, unfined, and he deploys minimal amount of sulfite. So we're talking about like 0 to 2 milligrams of sulfur, which is essentially nothing. And if you guys remember 2 years ago when we featured Dufaitre, it was their Beaujolais Village, the premise is what we featured. And that's the one that when we start talking about mouse and how I said, I think I tasted it with Rachel and both we were talking about on that call. This wine's feeling really nervous. This is it seems like it's about to fall apart. It's kind of high wire act. And they got mousy immediately the next day. And we talked a lot about mouse. If you remember that, that's kind of Laurence and Dufaitre's style. Like all of his wines are just like right on the teetering edge of like just about to fall off. And break down. But that's what he likes. He just don't want to put as little of sulfite as possible, just to stabilize enough for you to enjoy the wine. Like he just want to put enough to kill off what's happening in the wine. So that's one of the things I appreciate about him. It's one of those very kind of I don't know, dangerous, I guess is a word that could come out. It's quite ballsy for you to put at that little sulfites and then risk your bottle doing something different and weird. But all of these wines are always like, I find it super energetic, vibrant, and juicy and just delicious. It's very like hedonistically delicious. So yeah, here we are. Anyways, any questions about any of that before we get to tasting it? And also, how do there you go. And sorry that again, if you're just joining us now, I'm having technical issues and I couldn't get the camera to work, so you can't see this beautiful face tonight. So, any questions before we get to tasting? Excellent. In that case, let's taste the wine. Who wants to take the appearance?
I am Un.
Oh, I see multiple people jumping in. Don't you all jump in all at once?
Oh. Well, now you got to pick on Un.
Do I have to pick? Or do one of you want to do the notes? Phil, Allison?
Whichever one Allison wants to do, I'd do the other one.
I will do the appearance. I lack the brain power to do anything else.
Very good. All right, appearance it is.
Un, I don't know that I could call this wine clear.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I mean, you can tell this is definitely unfiltered, unfined. It's a little hazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
I never have that good lighting. So I'm not sure if this is medium or deep.
I'll call this about medium in terms of intensity. I can still, even though it's a bit hazy, I can still kind of see through and then see some, alphabets on my keyboard through the middle. But yeah,
I can just
I
never
can't.
see through because my lights are always dark at this
Yeah.
time of night. So I'm like, I don't know. But I was going to say medium. That was going to be my guess.
All right. So let's go with the
Um,
medium.
I'm going to say it's ruby also.
Yeah, very much of a classic
It's
look,
almost always ruby.
almost always. Unless it
Uh,
starts getting into aged, but yeah, it's almost always yes. There are very few wines in the world that gets into this like purple blue kind of a territory. Malbec is one of
mhm.
them. Young Merlot can have some of that. What's that Austrian variety? Blaufränkisch sometimes can have a little bit of purple, but in general, most wines, red wines at least, going to be ruby unless it doesn't age. Excellent. You get to pick the next person for the news.
Phil, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. Phil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go. All right. All right. This wine is clean.
This one is all
any
right. So this is what I was also going to say. I think this one is sound for sure. Is this wine clean? This is sometimes, there's nothing wrong with it. I would never call this faulty, right? But is this
Right.
wine clean? Like to me, there's a lot of this just kind of like rusticity about this wine. Like you can tell this is not wine that's made in a place that has like stainless steel tanks everywhere. There's like pristine, clean, and lab setting. It's none of that. But for all intents and purposes, I would say this wine is sound, perhaps little unclean, but yeah, mostly.
Intensity.
Intensity.
Yeah. I'd say this is a medium. This doesn't jump off the glass, but I don't have to get way inside to get it. I'd go with the medium to maybe a medium minus.
Yeah, it's a I don't
Medium.
know. Mine is like, let's see. Mine is
I
like
can't
about
get
here.
anything off the glass.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a 1 inch off the glass. So yeah, give that high end of medium, low end of medium plus. But yeah, I wouldn't say this is like super expressive, but I wouldn't say this is dull. Like I would definitely go into medium minus territory here. But like
Oh, okay. I do get something, but it's not super strong.
yeah.
I'm with you, Phil. I don't know what Un's talking about.
I'll go with the medium on this one. At this point in my class, like yeah, I'm like literally just a little off the rim. This is when I start to get it, like right around here. So, oh, you guys can't see me, but yeah. So I'm gonna go with the medium as well. Medium plus, medium intense aromas. Ooh, what do you get?
Yeah. So here's where we get the red fruit. I got like a red cherry, maybe a red plum. I get real strong red fruit, and not a not blackberry or bramble at all.
Yeah,
Nice and real clean fruit.
yeah. To me, this is like I get both red and black here. I do think there's a lot more red here as well. No, actually, I even take that back. Like it's very different. Like to me, there's really kind of like a darker red fruit, like the red cherry, really bright red cherry, red plum. But the
Yeah,
black fruit part
exactly.
to me,
Exactly.
yeah,
That was the first thing I smelled was
yeah.
uh
And then I do get some like a little black berries and popping up here as well. But yeah, that red cherry, red plum, like I think that's right on, dead on here for sure.
and I didn't get any flower at all, any floral smell. I
I
don't
kind
reckon.
of agree with you on this one. Like, yeah, usually with a game, I usually get some sort of violet, some sort of rose, depending on the crew. But like to me, this is a lot more fruit than it is floral. So yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. Maybe if you ask me, I could be convinced there's some like rose petals on here, but really what I get here is like red cherry, red plum, and some of
Yeah,
these like black
exactly.
currant, and then like
No dried fruit, no cooked fruit at all.
yeah, the quality of the fruit is really fresh,
Really
really
fresh.
ripe. Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't get any herbaceous at all. N well, no, I don't. I don't get anything that's
Yeah,
herbaceous.
I don't think there's anything green here for sure for me.
No. And there's no pepper smell to this at all. It's just nice
Yeah,
and clean.
yeah, it's really clean, really fruity, really fruit forward. And then again, this is kind of a testament to the Dufaitre style of winemaking, which is all about maximizing that carbonic maceration. So like even that fruit that we're talking about earlier, to me, there's like red cherry, red plum, that fresh fruit, but there's also like there's you smell this, like this wine had carbonic maceration on it. Like this
Yeah.
one has a carbonic written all over it. Like it's got that high tone fruit, it's got that kind of like that candy kind of fruit kind of thing going on here. Really bright, really poppy, but not much of these kind of like non-fruit things that you get from skin contact or stem inclusion and all of that. So agreed. Any mineral?
I don't get anything on the nose.
Yeah, me neither. I don't get a whole lot of minerality in this thing. Yeah, to me, this is just really, really fruity, really fruit forward, which is exactly what you get from carbonic maceration, really full carbonic maceration. Any secondary, any tertiary?
No, I don't get any of that.
Yeah.
And no secondary at all, and no tertiary.
Yep, agreed. This is very fresh, very young, but right all here in the primary world. Agreed. All right, you get to pick the next person for the palette.
All right, Norris, you're right below me.
I must be living right here. All right. I'm on the path. Where are we now?
We're gonna start with sweetness of the path.
It's dry.
Yeah, it's definitely dry. It's a lot of
Yeah.
fruit, but there's no sugar on this one. This is a fermented up, fully dry. So I'll call this dry. Acidity.
I'm not really getting much acidity. I think maybe medium.
Yeah,
Me.
that's what I call it as well. It's not super high medium. I mean acidity. I'll call this about medium. Quite frankly, this is where like I was a little thrown off a little bit. I was expecting a little more acidity on this wine than I would normally expect from Cote, but yeah, still I would say solidly in the medium territory. But yeah, not super extremely high. Tannin.
Also medium. It's got some grip, a little grip there, but I'm not getting a lot of grip.
Yeah, there's definitely some grip. I'd probably call this like medium minus. I don't know if I would go all the way to medium, but there's definitely some grip here. Maybe like lower than medium, higher than medium minus. But that's the thing about Cote, like that all that volcanic soil there, even if this is gone through so much carbonic maceration, less skin contact, the fact that it's getting this much like medium level tannin off of it is a testament to it speaks to where it's from. It's because when you grow gamay on a volcanic soil like that, it just tends to get a lot more tannin. It just develops a lot more like phenolics in the wine. So yeah, the fact that you are noticing a little more elevated level of tannin on this wine is completely correct. Alcohol.
I'm going to say medium.
Yeah. Like, what do you think the percentage would be? I haven't looked at it yet.
If I 12, 5 maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, 12.5. Yeah. So right exactly smack in the dab in the middle of medium. So yeah, that's right there. And then body.
I'm going to say medium, but I could go medium minus, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think this is like lower than medium, higher than medium minus. I think I will land on medium myself. But yeah, it's not nothing. Like it's got some weight to it. It's got some body. So yeah, I'm gonna call this medium. Mousse, obviously, we don't talk about flavor intensity.
Medium. I wouldn't say medium plus, but definitely towards that end.
Yeah,
Medium.
exactly. I think it's the same thing with what Phil called on the nose, kind of like right on the teetering between medium and medium plus. I think I would also call this about medium on the flavor intensity. Now, do you confirm everything that Phil called out? Is there anything else that speaks to you on this wine?
No, I think he hit it right on the nose. I agreed with everything he said.
Yeah, so I do think I do get little touch more floral on the palate than I did on the nose, but nonetheless, it's not like super floral wine that I would normally get from Gamay. But yeah, everything that Phil said right here, it's like the red cherry, red plum, with a little bit of like a blackberry thrown in. I think that's dead on. Both fresh, really ripe. There's nothing underripe. There's nothing overripe. Like perfect farming here. But a lot of the high tone, like just a lot of poppy, bright, almost candied kind of a tones in there as well. So two different kind of characters of fruits. And then there's nothing here that like, I don't know if you're getting anything for you, but like I'm not getting much herbaceous and herbal. Like, do you get anything?
No,
Savory?
just
That's
like that fruit is what I'm getting.
yeah. To me, this is like all about that like beautifully ripe fruit. And
Like
most,
pepper, like yeah, we talked about before. Maybe a very slight pepper. But yeah.
yeah, that's what I was actually gonna say. There's a touch of like a spice level here. That maybe that like 6 month in Fudra just gives a little bit of that touch of the oak wood touch that we were talking about. But in general, yeah, there's no pepper, just a touch of pepper, some sort of spice level here. And then do you get any minerality here? Any rocks?
Um, Not really, but I mean, if I was pressed to say, maybe a slight, I don't know what that is. It like a stone, kind of like licking a stone, but
Yeah,
very.
I do get a little bit of like a textural component here. Like this wine, even though it's gone through all carbonic here, like to me, it's not like the velvety, smooth and all, and it's gone through 6 months of aging in oak, but like it doesn't have like it has that kind of like a tension, kind of like a linear, very angular kind of thing going on in this wine. And I think that's just the volcanic soil that this is growing on. Even though in general, I would say this is not exactly most mineral driven wine. I think this is very much of like all about the fruit, freshness, ripeness, and all of that. And then, which is exactly what carbonic maceration does, and that's exactly what the Dufaitre tries to showcase with its Gamay. Do you get any secondary, any tertiary, anything else?
No, I did not.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, this is very much of a primary, very fresh, very ripe. It's all about the fruit. I mean, the fruit quality, what I am struck by, and then this is always what I think about Dufaitre's wine, as well as Jean Foyard, which is his kind of a mentor, is that their wines have this unbelievable like a purity, like a purity of fruit in their wines, which I really always appreciate. Excellent. Let's get to the length. How long is the finish?
Medium plus, I'm gonna say.
Mm. Yeah. This one also for me is like right at teetering right on the edge of like medium to medium plus, but yeah, I'm gonna be generous. I'm gonna give it the medium plus as well. Yeah, I really go back and forth with medium plus on the length here. I immediately get all this length, pure fruit that hits me. There's something that is a little bit savory right towards the end of the palate here that almost like a dried hay kind of a thing that's going on here. But
yeah,
I'm actually gonna call this medium as well, the finish. But yeah, somewhere right on that between medium and medium plus as well. All right, let's take it on. How good is this wine, and would you age this
Um, oh, this is a hard one. Usually, this one isn't hard for me, but um, we said
wine? What is this?
medium.
Yeah, I was gonna. Let's start from the top. Is this wine balanced?
It is very balanced.
Yeah, I think it's if anything, whether you like this wine or not, I think it's incredibly well balanced. There's not everything seems very harmonious, nothing sticks out. So I'll say this is very well balanced. Intensity, we call it medium on the nose, medium on the palate, somewhere between medium and medium plus, but we both landed on medium. And then complexity, what would you call that? I mean, we had perhaps a little bit of rose petal, both fresh and ripe, as well as a high tone fruit, little bit of minerality that you talked about, nothing secondary, nothing tertiary. What would you call that?
I'm sorry. What was the last thing you said?
What would you call that? What would you, if you were to rate the level? Medium, medium plus, what would you call that? Medium
Of
minus
quality?
of complexity.
Oh, complexity. I would say between medium plus.
Yeah, I would call this about if this had more like a secondary and tertiary and or like more things in the primary, maybe medium plus, but like yeah, I'll call this about medium as well, that thing. And then the length we called it medium.
I said medium plus.
Yeah, you said medium plus, so somewhere between medium and medium plus. So like we're landing exactly right on like medium and medium plus right here. So what do you want to call it? Do you want to call it?
I would call it good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like right down the line, right?
Yeah. I 100%. This is, oftentimes, even when I say, like, I'm being generous, I'm going to call it medium plus. Like, I tend to lean a little more towards one or the other. But this time, I feel like this could really be in between either one. So if you call this good, great. If you call this very good. But looking at our calls, calling everything medium, this will end up medium. I will call this good right now, but it's right on the teetering on the edge of very good. Now,
what would make it very good? Just out of curiosity, like what if there was one component that would push it?
If any one of the things got to medium plus territory, like squarely, right? Like if what concentration, we call it medium plus. If a complexity, if there are a lot more things going on, you call it medium plus. Length, you call it medium plus, I call it medium. But yeah, if all those things were if this is more concentration, more complexity, and more length, then absolutely, this would be squarely in a medium plus very good territory. But to me, this is like right on that teetering edge. So not quite enough for me to push it to medium plus. I'm also going to call it medium. Maybe I'm feeling stingy tonight. I don't know. Would you age this one, Norris?
I'm not sure, but I'm going to say I would not. I would say I wouldn't let it go past like a year. That's
agreed. I wouldn't necessarily age this, even though I said this earlier during the call that Cote Brouilly is one of the more age-worthy wines. But this particular example of wine, the expression that we're drinking tonight, to me, this is all about the freshness of the fruit. There's not a whole lot of structural component, meaning acid and tannin, right? Tannin, we called it medium minus, maybe bordering on medium. Acid, we called it medium, maybe going to medium plus, but really medium. So it's okay backbone. And even the fruit, we called it concentration medium, complexity medium. So all in general, I don't think there's a whole lot that's happening here for it to age. I think the beauty of this wine right now is the freshness, approachability, and quite frankly, the fruit, the purity of this fruit on this wine is what's striking to me. Just how fresh, how ripe, perfectly ripe it is. No underripe, no overripe. It's like beautifully ripe. So yeah, I would say drink this over. I think it'd be perfectly fine for the next year or two. It's drinking beautifully now, but I won't put this out for a long time. This is meant to be consumed immediately.
Yes.
Excellent. Good job, everyone. Any questions? Any disagreements?
Wait, I do have a question from earlier, and this maybe it's a drunk question because I've been drinking now. You have
Okay.
to maybe you have to remind me. If it's you talked, can you talk a little bit more? This is sound, this is sound, and this is because is it if it's hazy, is it automatically not? Oops, sorry.
Not sound?
Yeah. Or is that not necessarily true?
No.
Like they're not.
All right. So this is what you were basically getting at is this idea. You're talking about appearance, right? Or are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess are the appearance and that tied together or not at all?
Right. So this is where,
I feel like that's a rookie question, but just bear with or indulge me if you will.
No, this is no. That's perfectly a reasonable question to ask, especially given the what kind of wines that I feature in this wine club. So this is one of the things in the very first week of each month when I go through the grid. One of the things that I say that one of the gripes that I have with the grid is that this grid that we are all trained to use is not really meant for these kind of like natural wines, quote unquote natural wines. Again, I hate using that word natural wine. Minimal interventionist wines that are intentionally unfiltered, unfined, and some of these things. Just because it's hazy, does it automatically faulty? No, I would 100% disagree. Some of these things, in fact, even some of the greatest wines in the world in terms of like collectible items. You may have heard a name like Domaine Romane Conti, the most expensive wines in the world, most expensive Pinot Noir, Burgundy that's ever produced. They're unfiltered and unfined, and those wines are not fully clear. It's not translucent, but is that faulty? Would somebody call it faulty? Um, so yeah, there's some of that. So I would say just because it's hazy does not mean it's faulty. But in the world of these grid, the people who are grading papers for WCT, they would never put a very kind of like a natty with a capital N. They will never put like a Laurence and Remi Dufaitre on the exam. Let's put it that way. It's just not one of those examples you're going to get. I don't know if that answers your question.
It does. It does. And I guess, yeah, I guess the clean, it doesn't, you can see how clean and hazy seem to pair up, but I guess clean is just in the sense of the taste is just delicious.
Yeah, what they're looking for is like a translucency in the wine. We've kind of been taught as a society, at least American wine drinking, consuming society or public, to believe that these really translucent, clear wines are the benchmark of quality, and that's what you want. Anything you see sediments in the wine, there's got to be something wrong with the wine. But that's not necessarily true. Like oftentimes, a lot of these wines are not filtered; they're not fine. They may be racked, meaning let the sediments settle and then they rack something off. So just having the sediment alone does not mean that it is faulty, but we've been taught that way. We've been made to think that anything that has sediment in it, or the wine should not have sediment, is what I'm saying. I'm trying to think of some analogy for like cooking, like I don't know. It's not. It will come to me when it comes to me. I'll tell you. But
okay, no, I appreciate it. I just like when we were going to the grid, and then you stopped there. And I was like, hey, let's have a chat about or like what is different. And I was unprepared, I guess. So I just wanted to like not unprepared. That's the wrong way. Okay.
Okay.
I guess I wanted to hear more. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
I have a question. This is a fully carbonic, right?
Fully carbonic. Yep.
Yeah. How would we know from the bottle that
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
Yeah.
So would the producer only do fully carbonic, or do they do multiple?
This particular producer only does full carbonic, but that's not. Oftentimes, producers will belong to one camp or another, so they'll either do like they're semi-carbonic people, they're full carbonic people, or sometimes they're full on maceration, no carbonic, like a Burgundian method people. where they just make wine like as if you make wine anywhere else in the world. And they usually make their wine depending, regardless of the crew where they sort their grape from and whatnot, they'll make it that way. I rarely see an example of producers where like for this crew I'll do full carbonic, but for that crew I'll do semi, and then for this crew I'll do Burgundy and maceration method. Like you rarely see that. In fact, I can't think of any producer that comes to my head right now that does that. That's not to say they don't exist, obviously, but to your question, there's no way of knowing that by looking at the label. It's just more of you have to do your.
If I went to a restaurant or a wine store,
yeah,
would they know?
Hopefully.
They would know which.
Hopefully, and if you ever went to a wine store or a restaurant that's worth their salt, and then if you ask questions like, is this full carbonic or semi-carbonic? And if their eyes light up, they're like, oh, let me tell you, Phil, about what this producer does, then you found your story.
Because I think I like this style, the full carbonic of all the flavors that we've.
Okay. Well, good. See, now, next time, Phil, you're in a French restaurant and you want to get a bottle of Beaujolais with your, I don't know, coq au vin or beef bourguignon or roast chicken or whatever.
Snails.
Or snails. Yeah. You can ask the somm over and be like, hey, I tend to prefer full carbonic Beaujolais. Do you have something on your menu that is like that? And I shit you not, if you ask that question to a somm, their eyes will fucking they'll be like, oh, all right. Like you are in one of our like nerd camps. Like I get you. Like the difference between full carbonic and semi-carbonic. Like, I fucking got you. They'll probably like have you taste different Beaujolais. Because somms are also stupid and crazy about Beaujolais. Like so. But there you go. I'm so happy to hear that actually that you are noticing your own preference and be able to say, I think I prefer full carbonic versus like semi-carbonic. Like that's beautiful. That's amazing. Any other questions? Any other comments? Did everybody like this wine? Just out of curiosity, what do you guys think about this wine?
Yes, really liked it. Also, really liked last week wine, which was not a question. Also liked it.
Yeah,
Loved it.
perfect. Are people also like what Phil was alluding to, kind of seeing the difference between now that you've gone through, for most of you, you've gone through this Beauj box multiple years at this point, but even for just 1 year alone, do you see the difference between semi-carbonic versus full carbonic, like stylistically, how they taste different, how they feel different? Does that make sense to you? Like that
I feel
difference?
like it's like one of the only things I feel fully confident about. Like I still can't totally tell you like what makes clay soil different. Like I couldn't taste a wine and be like, I bet this was, grapes grown in clay.
Yeah.
But I can taste wine and be like, this was full carbonic master, like that I feel confident about.
Yeah.
And I feel like for me, it's just like my mood. Like sometimes I want a full carbonic.
Totally.
And sometimes, because I don't think I like either better, but I definitely can taste the difference.
Yeah. Good. And that's all it is. Like this whole exercise that we're trying to do with Beauj Pods is that, get you to experience the same grape made in different style, different production method, different soil and all of that, and trying to figure out your preference. And that's all it is. It's not that one is better than the other. Help you articulate your preference. Cool. Well, let's play everybody's favorite game. How much do you think this wine is on a retail shelf? How much would you be happy paying for this on a retail shelf?
I feel like after 5 or 4 years of Beauj box, I should just know how much this wine costs. But I don't.
Let's put it there. 28.32. 30.30. Okay. I mean, we called it good, right? Like we didn't call it, but it's like right on the teetering on the edge of being very good. Um, has a cult following, small scale producer. 32.27. Okay. I mean, you guys are all getting it pretty right. I mean, this is a very reasonable price for a special whiskey. This is 31.50 in a retail store. So
So you're saying I was right, and
yeah,
basically,
you're right. You're like right on.
I need the
Uh,
valid.
yeah, you're 27. You will be happy paying for 27. That's like a price from like
Yeah.
3 years ago.
Yeah, I feel like I slightly prefer last. I think that this wine, I like it, but it's like it's because it's just on the edge of like a little too funky for me.
Mm.
So I like it, but I don't love it.
Yeah, yeah. It's crunchy as fuck. That's what I love about
Yeah, I'm not that crunchy. I mean, who knows, Un? Maybe in 4 more years of 6 Foot Wine Club, I'm gonna be like
it.
drinking basically like kombucha made of grapes.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think
yeah.
you'd be very proud of me if I am, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah. No, I mean this is that, but this is a thing about the Fetcher, and I think that's honestly a very fair assessment slash even criticism for Dufaitre, is that he's purposely trying to make wines that are like right on the teetering on the edge of getting faulty, like getting unstable and falling off. It's a real tight high wire act. It's like I don't know if you guys have ever been to like a live music show where like you know that like it's just hanging on by a thread. Like maybe they didn't rehearse the song quite enough. You can kind of feel the nervous energy in the music, like any one little note that it could just completely fall off. To me, this is what that feels like. But it's really exciting when they're able to like pull it off. And then for most years, Dufaitre pulls it off. There are a few years here and there where it kind of like it's like, oh, maybe you should use a little more sulfites. But for most vintages and most crews, I feel like he has mastered that, like just on the teetering edge. So I get it. So people who don't like that, I get it. So, um, any other questions? Any other comments? Which one was you guys' favorite bottling from this year's Beauj Box, or anyone that sticks out of the ones you've tried? Because I know most of you probably haven't tried all of them, maybe except for Phil. No?
I'm like so far
I still have
behind.
four or five bottles left.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like so far behind. It's really hard to know. I opened the last week's bottle tonight to do the side by side, like you recommend,
Mm,
and I liked that one, but I feel like I haven't drunk it, like I haven't like truly thought about it enough.
yeah.
But I really liked, was that this? No, it wasn't this Beauj box. What did the Gamay Pinot Noir, was that?
Yeah, that was this Beauj Box. That was week one, week two. It was like one of the
Okay,
first
I
two of the
wasn't
week.
sure because we did the Gamay box too, and I get them mixed up. But
Yeah.
I really liked that one a lot.
Yeah. That one's super fun. I love that one. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was really fun and just delicious.
Yeah. Super delicious.
But
Exactly.
I also like I want to drink all the rest of the Beauj box wines before
Yeah.
I answer the question.
We
There
actually
was
just finished last year's box.
you just finished the last year's box, and this is the first one you opened of this year's box.
Our second bottle for this one for this.
Love it.
There's one
Love
that
it.
had overwhelming VA that I just couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
It was weeks back. You
What?
thought it was great.
Did we have one that was like overwhelming amount of VA in this year's box? I mean, I've had one that was crazy. The ones that like Allison hated, but this
Yeah,
year,
your notes even said leave it for 2 or 3 days and then drink it.
which one was it? I don't remember. I don't remember anything with a like crazy level of VA this year. But
I
okay,
feel like there was one that I really disliked though. Maybe it was
okay,
a Saint Amour,
okay.
but I don't
I
know.
don't know. I don't know. Okay.
I don't know.
So yeah, so I'm saying I'm hearing none particularly stood out.
I just feel like
Both the
A,
one way or the other,
I haven't
very
had
good or
enough.
like very bad. Like I fucking hated that one. Just out of
Yeah. I don't know.
I've liked them
Like
all.
I drank the first four bottles and I was like, oh, this is a good Beauj box this year. I feel like I had that feeling. But I think also the fact, first of all, like the world is fucked and I don't know where my brain is or what is
yeah,
anything
yeah.
anymore. So like that's throwing me off. But also I feel like having the Gamay box is confusing to me because like I'm like having tr trouble remembering what was Beauj box and what was Gamay box, you know?
You
All
got
right.
too many gametes in your life.
I liked
I
the
mean,
Renier. Is it the
Yeah,
Renier?
yeah,
I
yeah,
really liked that.
yeah.
Sorry, I
Renews.
was looking for all my notes. That's why it was taking me so long to like say anything. I did like the Saint Amour.
Uh-huh.
Wrote down faves. And then the Moulin Avant.
Avant. Yeah.
Yeah, those were the three that kind of stuck out to me
Okay.
this year.
Okay.
And I did like the last week's. I drank it with some friends. I listened to anyways, and then I listened and drank it with some friends, and they really liked it.
Yeah.
So I put that on the faves too, but I just hadn't added it yet. This one,
Okay.
I'm kind of a little not. Maybe it's just I'm not in the right mood tonight, and I'm
Okay.
and didn't really eat a lot as well. I just have been working, and then I just jumped on. But so maybe if I were under the better circumstances with food,
Yeah.
it might taste better. You know, I might like it better, but
Sure.
but it is funky, right?
Yeah. It is very like this is not
Yeah.
clean wine. Let's put it
No,
that way.
no. I mean, it's good, but it's not
Yeah.
bad funky, but it's just not, yeah.
It's feral. Like this shit is
Right.
wild.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about this wines. But I totally get it. That's not your jam. Yeah, part of what ended up happening, this wasn't intentional, but this year's Beauj box was I felt like there was less of like kind of like a cerebral thinking kind of wines.
Mhm.
It's a lot
Mhm.
more of just kind of like it just tastes good, and that's
They
one
were tasty and bright.
tasty wines. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember feeling that way every week that as I was going through it, and so yeah.
Right. It was like the Moulin Avant was the only one that seemed to be age worthy, right?
Yeah.
The cellar thing. And the others were more drink now.
Yeah, I would say yeah. Moulin Avant was definitely one of
That was really nice.
Even then, like even that one, like that is not a very typical Moulin Avant expression, but it was just a very, very well done.
Yeah.
Really pretty.
Yeah.
That and I mean our perennial favorite, the Chamaran Morgon, the MC2 Morgon. I thought those two were the kind of like the aged, put it down for a little bit. Everything else was very much of like drinking now. Like this is delicious kind of a thing. So. All right, cool.
But you were saying the Morgon, right, was the one that was kind of the like aged. That was not my favorite at all.
No.
Like this box, but I did get a couple bottles from I think a box ago that I that I did like. So it was interesting.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe your palate is changing. Who knows? But
yeah.
Moulin Avant is particularly Chamaran for me has always been really, really interesting and exciting because it's like both age worthy, but it's also like kind of like this one. It's just so rustic and feral and wild at the same time.
But like the Morgon, like that we had, right?
Yeah.
That one, it wasn't my favorite this year.
That's the one that I'm talking about. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Cool. Any one of them that stuck out to you, you're like, what the fuck? Why did you put this in the box? I fucking hated it. Or anything was like a disappointment. Like I thought this was a crew that I usually like because most of you have joined Beauj Box for multiple years at this point. Like this is usually the crew that I really like, but this year for some reason this just does not quite hit it.
No, they were also drinkable.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, but aren't they usually supposed to be, right?
For me, the biggest surprise was Camille Melanin Chihoule. That was the one that I was like, I usually like Chewable. But this one
Oh, the
was a
churro,
lot
yeah.
more, yeah, a lot more serious. And then I
Mhm.
actually thought that wine drink better the next day and the 2 days later than the actual day I opened it, which I find it interesting. But yeah, but outside of that, everything I thought it was, yeah, I was really pleased with the rest of the box this year. Anyways, thanks for allowing me to put this box together every year, guys. 5 years. Um, anyways.
So I had a question just broadly, like as you're, kind of in your wine buying and, management of wine, is because of the tariffs, is it just gotten completely out of control? Because honestly, I don't buy wine anymore because I get wine from 6 Foot Wine Club. So
Yeah.
I don't even go into a wine store mostly.
It hasn't, I mean, so tariff hasn't gone in yet.
Yeah.
So it hasn't affected me or any of the wine industry in terms of actual reality.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of I don't want to call it hysteria, but there's a lot of just kind of nervousness around it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do know that some importers ordered very heavily at the end of last year in preparation for this tariff, and they're canceling their orders for the rest of the year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they are trying to pare down the amount of diversity on their portfolio and focus more on like top 10 to 15 sellers. So the ones that are not quite selling as much, that are kind of cool, different kind of wines, they're dumping all of that out of their portfolio, which means even if tariff doesn't go into effect for at least a little bit, we're going to see the availability of wine in this country getting, not in terms of quantity, but in terms of diversity. Just everyone's going to be drinking this same thing for a little bit until we run through that stop. And then if the tariff doesn't come in, then things will start to come back in. So some of that is happening. So I'm getting a lot of email now from importers and distributors that saying we're actually fire selling some of these kind of like fringe producers and fringe products that don't necessarily sell all that much. And then we're going to focus really much more on core French, Italian, big known regions, which is kind of, I understand it, but it like just makes it a little boring. You know what I mean? Like and like right now is probably a good time for me to stock up on some of this stuff, just because like I'm a rarity in the wine world where like I actually focus more on that fringe wine product, like fringe regions and fringe producers and that kind of style of wine. So people are always like, "Hey, you wanna pick this up?" Like we're like dumping this stuff right now. But the rest of the wine world, like, are they gonna buy all this shit up even if it's cheap? Like, are they gonna people buy it? I don't know. And then there's also like there was this article that just came out. I think it was Axios that put it out last week. They're predicting more than 50% of restaurants in DC to close by end of the year.
Really?
Yeah. So like, what does that mean for the amount of wine? Even if they're paring it down to bestsellers, if the places that sell them are decreasing by more than 50%, then what does that mean for So while all of that hasn't hit us yet, but there's a lot of kind of a nervousness around it that's happening for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I mean, none of us think that like 200% that tariff is actually going to go into effect. I think it's a lot of this like talk.
Yeah.
But like I've said, I've gotten out of Trump prediction business a long time ago. So like not knowing that uncertainty is kind of like what's even worse. Like if you knew that it was going to go in on this date, like, at least you can like plan for it and like do something around it. But like not knowing it, like how do you prepare for not knowing? How do you prepare for uncertainty? You know?
No, I know.
So there's that. There's that too.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
No. I was just curious.
Yeah. Yep, yep.
Well, I'm going to buy some Prosecco anyway.
As you should. So
I'm,
always load up on Prosecco.
I'm not paying $25 for a bottle, $40 for a bottle of Prosecco.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed. Um, I am honestly, I don't know how you guys think about this. Yeah, actually, let me you guys very small sample size here, but you guys are trusted inner circle. I'm thinking about spinning off like a retail art of 6 Foot Wine Club, where it's not about this wine club, it's literally just being like a wine club for people. And I'm trying to get them to the like a cheap everyday drinker wines. Like, it basically wines at fires. Because there's so much of this fire sale that's happening, and then I have access to these things. But it's like people don't know these wines. Like if you're not in the wine industry, if you're not studying these fringe wine industry, like how would you sell them? But I'm trying to, I guess, somehow build credibility as like the guy. These are real wines that I've tasted them, I believe them, and then you can now here's a opportunity right now where you can pick them up for at like a fraction of the cost what we normally get, and then just to get wines out. So like every week, let's say you get an email from me and say, hey, and in fact, actually, I would love to do this on like a text format. That's be even better. There's got to be technology that exists. And then, so basically you get a text from me and says, hey, here's a wine that's available. This is how it normally costs. This is what it costs right now. If you want to watch a 1 minute video of me tasting and describing the wine and what it's like, click here. Otherwise, here's a little text. Tell me how many you want. And then you say 3, 2, 1, or whatever, how many bottles. And then when it gets to a full case, I hold on to your wines. When it gets to a full case, I ship a case to you.
I say absolutely 100% do it.
Like, is that something that you would find? The only way
I'm going to buy wine now is because you're recommending something. I hate to go into a wine store, and that's a terrible thing to say, but because nothing that I drink like that you recommend, I find in a wine store. And I know, like, I can think about it, like just try to find like comparisons or whatever, to similar things, but I'm not that I'm lazy. I'm just too busy.
Yeah.
And I travel too much, and I just want someone to tell me what to buy.
Yeah.
And then I will buy it, and then get it to a case, and then you send it to me.
Yeah, somebody's palate that you trust.
Or I come pick it up or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I also like I don't do lastbottle.com, but every once in a while I have relapses. And what I like about lastbottle.com is it's like one wine. And so all you have to decide is yes or no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's so much easier for me to do than to like go into a store and like pick
Right.
up a lot of
The
things.
walls and walls of options.
And so I think that part of it would be appealing, in that it's like you're just asking people to say yes, how many, like, or no. And I don't know. I think a lot of people are like me, and we're all tired of making decisions. And if it's like it's a binary, it's kind of nice.
Yep.
It does feel operationally for you like it would be a lot of work.
Oh, absolutely. It will add a whole another layer, but I don't think it would be that difficult to pull off, honestly. But
and
anyways, I'm thinking about it.
I would come pick shit up. I would drive to come get something if I didn't have to, like, you tell me what to, like, give me choices and I just make decisions, and then I can come get it. Like, versus
I mean, this kind of stuff would be not just a wine club folks. I mean, this would be open to the public and everything.
Yeah. No, of course.
But the idea is exactly, you can either pick up or I can ship it to you.
Yeah.
Like you can pay shipping if you want it before it gets to a full case, or you get it delivered to you when it gets to a full case. That kind of idea.
Yeah.
But okay. I don't know. It's just something I was thinking about. Like, it's just like I get an email every week now from different distributors and importers. I feel like we are dumping this stuff. Like they're selling it at their wholesale. Like they're not making their profit. They're like, at this point, like, we just want to make room in their warehouse. We are about to get, because they ordered so much at the end of last year in preparation for this tariff, to what you're saying. They're saying we just need room in our warehouse. And right now, what's important is for us to create shelf space rather than trying to sell the stuff and trying to make some money. So they're like, I'm selling at a wholesale cost. Just pick up. So I was like, all right. I mean, that is essentially for consumers, you're
What kind of price
skipping
range?
another
What
layer.
kind of price range do you find those fire sale wines?
Say that again.
The price range of those fire sale wines. Where are they?
So the teardrops usually there's a 30 to 35% markup from importer to a distributor. And then from distributor to a retailer, there's another like 30 to 35%
Oh,
markup,
wow.
right? And then from retailer to the final consumer, that's the biggest markup. And that's where, because they're the ones who have to have like the actual brick and mortar store inside of like a big ass city and pay for leads and staff and all of that. So that markup is like 50%. So all in all, going from a producer to a final consumer, we're talking about like almost what 100% markup from the very beginning origin price. So yeah. So if you were to knock off, like now what we're saying is these people who are importing it themselves are selling it at cost, which means you are eliminating 70% markup, 70 to 80% markup on the wines that we're getting to final price to you. So even me as a retailer, even if I charge another 50%, same markup as I normally would, that still lands to you at like 40% cheaper than what you normally get. Like it's an incredible opportunity to pick up these wines, is what I'm saying. So
I feel like you also have to make it easy for people to make an impulse decision. And I feel like if you came up with, you'll have your video. I will never watch the video. I'll just tell you that. I know that videos work and that other people watch videos. I would never watch a video. I'll read a thing.
Yeah.
But if people get to trust you, I mean, the wine club trusts you, but if like other people outside the wine club, mere mortals trust you. And like having like codes that's like funky, fruit forward, acid, high acid, and even like codes or something that people can just visually like look and be like, Woong recommends it and it fits the categories of this that I like. I feel like the key to this is that people just like don't think about it because if they don't make a decision like when they get the text, it's over. I have no idea what I'm talking about. This is just like what I feel.
No. I think you're thinking exactly what I'm thinking. I think the biggest challenge with wine buying experience in America, I guess that it could be anywhere, but in general, is that there are too many goddamn choices. Like it is overwhelming to walk into
What's the biggest challenge?
What's that?
You said the biggest challenge with wine buying experience, and then it was just silent.
Oh, sorry, my internet was a little upset.
Oh, I mean, it was like a real cliffhanger.
What I say? Dun dun dun. What I'm saying is, I think there are too many goddamn choices for consumers. American wine consuming public is not educated enough on the wine, and I don't blame it on the consumers. I actually blame it on the wine industry for not educating the public enough. But that when they walk into a store, it's overwhelming. There are too many goddamn bottles. They have 100%. No idea.
Yep.
Yeah. So most people end up picking it through just labels. They're too afraid to ask it just because there's pretension around wine. So like they're not supposed to ask these dumb questions when they go in there. So what if we were to remove all of that? Like here's a guy who, as I always do, and I think this is part of the appeal of what you guys like about me as well, is that like I try to approach this shit from a very kind of a non-pretentious, like, like I just want it to be an everyday beverage, kind of a wine for the masses kind of angle, right? And say, but once you try with me, if you don't like my palate, that's fine. But once you get to trust my palate and you know what kind of wines I like, then let me be your guide. Like, let me be the filter for all of that shit for you. Let me make the decisions for you. And all you have to say is real simple, yes or no, like you said, Allison, yes or no, how many bottles? That's it.
Mhm.
And then
Right.
it shows up on your door and you just fucking drink it. Like that's it. I just want to make it as easy as possible for wine consuming public to pick wines and drink them.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, Un.
So,
I have
and
no
there's
good idea.
incredible discount opportunity right now too.
Yeah.
As long as you give us the you know what you the nose, the acid, the tannin, you know, give us what you think about the wine so that we know before we even try it.
You think Phil, like that technical information will help you? Because I thought about that. I'm like, how many people, if I had to give a like let's say grid tasting on these like texts that go out to people, would you find that helpful? Or more like that, like a reminder email that when I send out, I say things like, this is made by this person, and then like this, or maybe not, I don't even go into that. Just say, hey, this wine is uh I give a quick profile of where it's from or what it is that you're drinking. But I say like
For
this is
me,
delicious
it
because
would,
of acid balance and all of that. Like in very, very short, like 2 to 3 sentences.
Yes, because
yeah.
our grid is basically how long do you age? Ends up, is this a good wine for aging? That's the bottom line of the grid. It's telling you is it a good wine for aging? What you
Yeah.
want to tell us is a good wine for drinking,
Right.
right?
Right. Exactly. Okay. I don't know. That's actually a good question. Would you guys think like that kind of technical information about the wine is helpful in making your purchasing decisions?
For me, I think it would be this is a this is a sparkling wine for people who love classic champagne but don't love the price point. Like
Yeah.
great for a celebration, but also like cheap enough to drink on a Wednesday. Like I don't
Yeah.
know, like that kind of thing where it's like it's getting at like, oh, I like that thing, and this is a reference point to that thing. I don't know. I like think back to last bottle. Last bottle, like the marketing just gets me, and that's why I
Yeah.
have to hide them from my internet.
Uh,
But
as a recovering last bottle holic,
yeah,
I
it's
get it.
not good. But like
Yeah.
stuff like that, like where it's like an easy, accessible reference,
Yeah.
like if you like full-bodied
Yep.
reds with a great mineral
Yeah.
backbone versus like strong tan, like for me at
Right.
least,
Right.
like yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually think again, I mean, I'm also proud to hear you say that, Phil, because with this group, I know how much of nerds you guys have all become on wine, how interested you become. So like me saying things probably are like tannin level, acid level.
Mhm.
This is what it compared to. These are the reference points you compare to. Like, I mean, it's funny because like the way I talk to you guys about wine is not actually the way I can talk to most people about wine when I go to like parties. Because I can see their eyes just fucking glaze over. I talk about like other things, right? Like, but I feel comfortable talking about the ways I talk about wines with you guys. It's because you guys are receptive to that. Like, you guys have, heard me, see me, you guys tasted wine with me. Like, these are the things that like I'm trying to. There's a reason why I'm trying to point these things out.
Mhm.
But for most people, for most of American wine consuming public, I feel like that kind of information, at least at the very beginning, it just makes their eyes glaze over. They're like
Yeah,
tannin.
I
Like
know.
what?
I got really excited because I was drinking a wine and I think I texted you Un because I needed validation. And I was like, I think this is carbonic maceration. I was like, I think
Yeah.
this is full carbonic. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna Google it. And I found out and I was like, it is. I was right. And all my friends were like, very interesting, Allison.
Yeah, exactly.
And
They're
I was like, this is an accomplishment. I have learned a thing. And
precisely.
so, but I know because they were all like politely trying to be engaged, but like they didn't really care.
Yeah, they don't give a
Mm.
shit. Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think there's a line.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for being my little case study group
We love to
for this
share.
idea.
Maybe you could do it on an Instagram page.
Yeah, do it on Instagram, put it out like for each wine that comes out, maybe just me spitting wine in a like backyard or alleyway somewhere.
I don't know. You have to find another platform besides Instagram. I'm on
Yeah.
all social media. So
Yeah. I know. I
maybe,
like this.
maybe
I
like
like,
Blue Sky, or I don't know, something.
or like I really like this idea of just like I don't know.
But like but I mean, I know WhatsApp is Meta, like but like a text thing just to get the text, that would be awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm thinking text, maybe like use social media to gather attention, but really sales, all that, how you buy and all of that just happen in text. Because I think that's the key. Like I'm trying to make it as easy as possible, right?
Right.
You just look at it and be like, I just want how many? And then so you see the text come in, this is
Yeah.
a wine, this feature, how many? That's it.
Yeah.
3, boom, it's set up. And then when it reaches a full case, I'll send it to you. So
I think that's a really, really good idea.
Yeah.
I'll buy wine if you remind me to buy it.
well, it will come into your phone.
Right.
Okay. Anyways.
All right, dude. Thank you.
Also, I just realized I've been recording this the whole time.